All right, guys. Well, we've started up both the live feeds at YouTube, and I'm here, Bruce the Weather Soul. We're just getting ready to start up the day and start up the second season and first episode of the Weather Soul podcast. I'm sitting here and just enjoying a end of a Sunday afternoon, and we're just going to get ready to start this thing up. So the comments are on in YouTube. If you want to go to YouTube and I won't be able to comment on the Facebook app because there's just too many things to do while I'm running around doing this. So that's just part of being a one man show because Dougie is out and he will be back pretty soon. We're wishing him a speedy recovery. He just had back surgery, but we'll be talking about during the podcast. So let's just get this podcast started and we can go forward. All right, here we go, guys. Here we are. For best results, squeeze from the bottom up. You've got Bruce, the Weathered Soul, on the Weathered Soul podcast, live from First Note Production Studios. If you're listening to me on the Facebook app, or if you're listening to me on YouTube Live, here I am, Bruce, the Weathered Soul, and we're coming live from you from Gilroy, California. Want to welcome you here tonight. Hello, I'm back. Man, it's been a little more than a week. I took a week off because my big buddy Douglas, who's not here today, and Douglas, man, we're praying for your quick recovery, and man, I just want you back. I kind of gotten a no pun intended, but I kind of got in a funk because you're not here, dude, because you're my right hand man, and I want you to be here all the time to be a part of the Weathered Soul podcast, and you're just one of the mainstays, man. And Dougie went in and he just had back surgery that he had done this last I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday that he had the surgery, and man, I just really want him back. Because he's an integral part of the show and we just love him to death. So we just want him to be there. Anyway, hey, welcome to the podcast. Hey, a couple new things that have been going on. I rejoined Patreon. So if I can bring up the Patreon site later, I will let you know that we have a Patreon website. You can go to the weatheredsoulpodcast.libsyn.com to pick up this podcast anytime you want. And then you can also go to iTunes, you can go to Stitcher, you can go to Google Play, all your best podcatchers, and you can upload or download the podcast as you wish. And I'm just excited that you're here. I've got a fundraiser going on that's coming up for my studio, but most importantly, I have a podcast, or not a podcast, but an event coming up that is very close to my heart, and I do it every year, and it's called Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's. And because this is especially a podcast for the South County area in Santa Clara Valley that covers Gilroy, Morgan Hill, San Martin, Hollister, Watsonville. Anybody who can hear me from anywhere in the world can come to this, and I call it Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's. I've got a small little 30-seat venue in my backyard, beautiful place, and a lot of people have played there. Everybody from Blue House to Cook and Fenny, from the Jones Gang to Jeff Jones, who plays up in Tahoe. I'm telling you, I've had some great talent here, and we're going to have some great talent again. May 18th is the date. It is called Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's. You can find it on eventbrite.com and just put in Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's. It'll come up. It costs you $20 a ticket to come in. I've got 30 seats available. I'd love to fill them up. You go to that website, eventbrite.com, and just look for Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's, and you can get a ticket to come here if you're listening to me local. Our band that's going to be being the headliner is absolutely Blue House. Marlise DeVere and Amy Beasley are going to be here with their band. And if you ever heard them before, or been around the South Valley, done any of the festivals around the wine strolls and all that, you have definitely heard Blue House before, and they're going to be exciting to play. And for opening them for the third year in a row, these guys, Mark Fenichel is just a good friend of mine. The Cook and Fenny combo is going to come, and they're going to open up with an hour set. And him and his partner Kathy Cook and Tom Yako, they just bring it down. They do some great stuff, and it's for a good cause, Alzheimer's. The $20 ticket is for admission, and those go to the musicians. And then we're going to be taking donations to my walk page for Alzheimer's. We'll take checks, we'll take cash. The cash will be done by accounting through a sign up page that is supplied by the Alzheimer's Association. Not $1 of this event goes into my pocket. It always goes towards bringing you the best entertainment that I can bring you in the South Valley, and also the beneficiaries of the donations, which are usually very worthy causes. I do one for Alzheimer's, and I do a couple more that are for the MS Society, or the MS Society of Northern California and the nation. And man, I'm just excited about giving you guys this 3-concert series that's coming up. It's called Night in the Garden, and the first one is called Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's, and it's on May 18th. I'd love you to come over. Let's break some bread. Let's freaking listen to some music. Let's sit around and just have a chat, and let's just do some great things for the community around here. And I'm just excited. I'm really excited for being here for this second season, and I thank you guys for tuning in. A lot of you guys are responding by downloading this podcast, and I thank you guys immensely for doing that. It's just one of the things that I'm in here. I would love to make money at doing podcasting, but that's really not where it's at. I would love to be able to have you guys support me in this podcast, which there's a couple of sites that are coming up that I'll let you know. But I do this for fun. I love to do the podcasting. I love to put on concerts. I love to host, and that's actually where I really want to make my money at. That's where my entrepreneurship is going. But this podcast is absolutely free. It's always going to be free. But I'm going to invite you to join my Patreon website here in a little bit, as soon as I pull it up, so I know what the exact URL is to give you, because I don't want you going anywhere. I'd love you to stay here with me and Dougie when he gets back, and be a part of the Weathered Souls. And hey, speaking of Dougie, man, hey Doug, if you're out there, brother, whether you're watching here or whether you're watching there, buddy, I'm pulling for you, man. You and Abby are great people, and I want you to get back from your back surgery. You had a very serious back injury that's been bugging you, and man, I'm glad that you got it fixed. It's going to take some time, and you know that you can always get a hold of me, and I've always got your back, brother. And that's what it's going to be, and everybody's excited for you to come back and do some things for us at the podcast, man. It's we're going to miss Dougie. I miss his voice, and we'll be able to probably in the next couple of weeks patch him up on a remote. He's as soon as he gets up and around, the doctor says he's supposed to be up and around, within a couple of days, and he's already walking around and stuff. So the miracle of medicine right now is just amazing on how things are in medicine out there. And we'll get into some discussion later about how I feel about healthcare. It's probably way different than a lot of people in the South County and the Bay Area feel about healthcare, but we have the best healthcare in the world. But for the most part, I just want my friend Doug to get well and be out there and just, man, heal up. I need you back here, and everybody needs you back here, because you and Abby are fine people, and we love you. And yeah, so hey, I'm excited to be here. Like I said, the second season, and the first episode that we're getting into, and man, what a ride it's been for the first 20 shows. I was pretty nervous that first show. I had done some shows before on YouTube Live, doing some of the stuff that I usually do, and it's fun. It's no doubt very much fun to do this. But without somebody on the other side listening to me, I just yeah, It's odd. I mean, I used to think that I like to do this thing alone, but it's so much better to have Doug, or Eddie, or Tom to be here, but mostly Doug because he wants to be the mainstay of the show, and man, I welcome him. If he wants to take the lead anytime, he's willing to take this whole show over, man. I miss you. But go back to healthcare. I mean, since we're on the subject, I just wanted to, to keep it up. Is that there's a lot of things going on, because we've got elections coming up, and I'm going to kind of take this national a little bit first before we get into local stuff. But I wanted to say that, because a lot of people know that this is pretty much a liberty based podcast. I'm pretty much open to all political parties, but I believe in freedom, and I believe in liberty, and I know that a lot of people out there that identify as Republican or Democrat also believe in freedom and liberty, and I don't think that we're all that far apart. And I think the fringes of the both the parties and all parties, even my party, the Libertarian Party, just take this real fringe approach on the way that they think things should be. And being a centrist as I am, I tend to be uh, either leaning left or right, depending on which subject it is. So when it comes to healthcare, I got into a pretty not heated argument, but a great debate. I mean, believe me, if there's anything that I like more on social media, and you can find me on social media at Bruce the Weathered Soul. You just type in Bruce the Weathered Soul in your Facebook app at the search bar. It'll take you right to the Weathered Soul podcast page, and you can sign up there. It's our fan base, and you can join in on discussions that I have there. Most of the stuff that I pull out of my discussions are on my private Facebook page. But as soon as I start people getting in more and more to commenting on the actual Weathered Soul page, and I'd love to have you join. So just come on over and say at Bruce the Weathered Soul. It'll take you right there. We can talk about this stuff. And I love to debate. I love to learn. I don't know everything, even though, some people that I argue with say, well, you think you know everything. No, I don't know everything. And one of the best things about being in podcasting, being on social media, no matter how much they have, they have blocked me before and suspended my account, but I've always got back on. But as much as I've been able to do that, I still think that this is a major form of communication. It's what's going on now. Uh, and it's instant, and it's like that. And as much crap as we get, there's a lot of good debate and a lot of good discussion going forward if you can find those little groups of stuff. I mean, you can find all kinds of groups that want to scream back and forth, like, if you're watching The View or Jerry Springer. But I more like to have a point to point debate. And I think I found that in one of the candidates that I am following. So, as a libertarian, I am very much looking at a Democrat to take over the White House in place of Trump in 2020, because I didn't vote for Trump before, and I don't plan on voting for him in 2020. So I'm looking for a candidate, and Tulsi Gabbard happened to be one of my front runners, and I think she is very, very well rounded in her foreign policy, which is important to me because we have to have a good foreign policy as being a world leader. And I think that we have lost that in both President Trump and Barack Obama. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I'm not a war person. I'm very anti-war. Unless you're going to attack me, I don't give a crap what the hell you do. You don't get onto my land and tell me what I'm going to be going to do and what I'm not going to be. Come in my country and try to invade, and we got a problem there. But as far as you want to live peaceably on your side of the ocean, and me be personally peaceable, and we can trade and invest in each other and back and forth and all that, as long as we can do that peacefully, I have no problem. And that's what Tulsi stands for in her foreign policy. I like that. Problem is that she's got a domestic policy that I think is pretty trash. I mean, it toes the line. She says she's going to fight for it, where the Democrats are just saying that they're for it. So her big thing is that she's going to fight for everything. She's a veteran. She's fighting for everything and everything that she wants to do. The problem is that she's a little bit more on the left, more in the social or what I want to say. I want to say fiscally responsible because I quit saying fiscally conservative a long time ago. And we just need to bring those things back. Tulsi, I love you. I think you're a great candidate. I think you have the demeanor. I think you have the drive. I don't think that you're a power monger, and I think that you have what it takes. But let's get our domestic policies into a more centrist area to where everybody can live together because we're really not too far apart. And but I believe that let me start about this. I believe that one of her things that she's got going on is Medicare for all. And she says that she's going to fight for it, where Democrats say that they're just for it, and they really aren't. And you know what? She says a lot of truth in that. She believes in that. I believe in that too. And as much as I believe in that is true, I believe in the fact that the Democrats themselves and even the Republicans say they are, but they're really not going to fight for it. Especially the Republicans aren't going to fight for it, and the Democrats are really not going to fight for it because it's not into their interest. Because the interest is in for-profit corporate welfare, and that's kind of the way things go in the United States of America. And the problem is that has to stop. And everybody out there who's a conservative, and I know a bunch of conservative talk shows, I listen to them every day, and I can't stand to hear what I have to hear in those conservative talk shows because they always talk about they want this and that for the Medicare for all, or either they want it or they don't want it. But either what that they're doing, they're really not nailed to the fact that all we have to do to afford this Medicare for all, because let's face it, everybody needs healthcare. The healthcare demand is not going to go up because we pass Medicare for all or we don't pass Medicare for all. We're still going to have the same amount of healthcare that we need unless something catastrophic arrives, right? So we know what the cost of going out is going to be. What we don't know is the cost of coming in if we all start paying taxes on it, okay? Well, you know what? We're paying taxes for Medicare already. Okay. And I hate to really sound like a progressive Democrat on this, but I'm a libertarian. I'm a centrist, and I've got to look at both ways. And I got to be reasonable, and I got to take all the evidence to a logical freaking end. And the end says is that unless we have some kind of a freaking violent revolution, we're here with what we've got stuck with government. I want smaller government, just like I think most of the people that are libertarians want smaller government. But the problem is that unless something radical happens, it's not going to happen. So what we got to do is we got to take things little by little, little by little. So the way to shrink government is to decrease the spending. Okay. So yes, Medicare for all is going to increase spending, and it's going to increase taxes. I'm sorry to tell you this. All of you that have been vaccinated by CNN and vaccinated by MSNBC and vaccinated by Fox and vaccinated by the mainstream media, I'm sorry to tell you, you've been vaccinated. It's going to take more taxes to get this done. Okay. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. But we can cut in other places. And if Tulsi Gabbard gets in there, I believe that you're going to find a huge cut in the military industrial complex, which is fine with me. Okay. We can decrease our footprint in the world as far as our offensive concerns are. And then we can do like President Trump wants to, and everybody has to toe their own and pay their way. So if the European countries and countries that are surrounding the European Union and stuff like that want our protection, then they're going to have to pay for it instead of us paying them all the time, or us paying them all the time, and going in and protecting their countries for our interest. Well, I believe in President Trump's idea of making everybody pay their way. There's no problem with that. So what Tulsi Gabbard is I believe the way that I hear her is kind of for that same thing. and we're just going to have to get used to being a defensive country because that's all we need. We don't need to be nation building in other places. You can say that the red scourge and dictatorships and stuff like that you just want to take over the world, but you know what? The same thing is in our government and the mentality of the Pentagon and the mentality of the politicians that are warmongers in Washington, Democrat and Republican. All they want to do is they want to instill nation building to make democratic countries or republic countries out of countries that are strictly third world. They're not there yet, even though some of them are Saudi countries, some of them are South American countries. Take Venezuela for instance. I mean, we shouldn't even be there. Okay. And I'm sure that Tulsi doesn't want to be there either. So why are we even there? So they have oil. So we have oil too. So they have the biggest oil reserves in the world. Good for them. That's a resource that they can use. Let them figure out what their problem is. Hey, come home and let's figure out our problems. I think that's what I like about Tulsi Gabbard. I think that's what she's going to do. However, some of her socialist ideas, she really leans towards Bernie, and I'm not too much into Bernie. I was into Bernie, back in the 2016-11 election, but once he lost his desire after he found out about the DNC hack and how they tried to they absolutely took him out of the race. And that was a big problem for me. I didn't like that at all. Anyway, it happened. It's history. I don't think Bernie has any integrity anymore, especially some of the stuff that comes out where he's not living the same lifestyle that he wants to put upon us. Because to tell you the truth, this big far left agenda with them wanting to go way far left and way socialist with our ideas, I think that they're just talking themselves out of the next election. And personally, I think that Tulsi can probably go more towards the centrist place, and I think she's got a great chance. So, Tulsi, I know I've been on your Facebook site, and I've debated a lot of some of your stuff. I believe in you. I think that you can go somewhere. I think you need to take your domestic policies more central, and then keep your foreign policy exactly where it's at, because I think you'll make a great candidate for the president of the United States. And that's all I got to say about that. I think that's probably going to be the biggest surprise out of the whole night with the with my whole politics thing. But it's so good to be back. It's so good to be back, and I'm so excited that we have this stuff going on. And I just want to mention a couple of things that are going on in Gilroy and Morgan Hill in the next couple of days. We got Celebrate Earth Day on April 18th. Okay, Gilroy residents are invited to join the city of Morgan Hill for a free event in honor of Earth Day. Learn about local environment and ways to get involved to make a difference. And this will be a fun and educational event with free giveaways, a photo booth, drawings, and a ton of family-friendly crafts, games, and informational resources. There will be activities and booths run by the Coast State Park and our city forest, a Make a Wave, and many more. All ages are welcome. It's on April 18th, 2019 from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Morgan Hill Community and Cultural Center. And, I wanted to address also, we're going to get back into politics here, but a lot of people think that, and I'm a libertarian, but when you talk to me and you see some of my Facebook posts, you might seem to think that I'm a conservative, and I am for a lot of things. And I, as much as I looks like I defend Trump, I'm trying to get out there and trying to spur your mind into thinking about things and what's really happening out there, and how can all this be true? I mean, let's face it, Trump is an idiot. And I think every freaking president we've had is an idiot. It just depends on how they talk. And President Trump talks the way he talks. Obama was eloquent, probably the most eloquent president we had since John Kennedy. And I'm just telling you, he had he had the voice, and he had the stagger, and he had the talk, and he walked the talk. And Bush, another complete idiot. But the point that I was getting at is that I was never when you're talking about conservative viewpoints and you're looking at the social media, they don't think that you're concerned about the environment. And I am concerned about the environment. And I've been doing, if anybody knows, it's spring here in California, and spring's a beautiful time. And we get to go out and we get to go out in our backyards finally and start digging around in the dirt and stuff. And I just love my dirt. I mean, when I first got my house here, the first thing I did was look out in the backyard to see what kind of garden I could put in. I've always loved gardening. I always loved seeing vegetables grow and stuff like that. It's fantastic. If anybody, it's man's hands were meant to be in the earth. I don't know why. It's just something that we have to touch, because I think we are of earth, and we're all made out of kind of the same thing. So being able to get your hands in the earth and work it is just amazing. And it's amazing actually what goes on in your backyard after a whole winter of letting it grow, because I've thrown away. I swear to God, I've thrown away a ton of stuff that I pulled out of my backyard already. It's amazing. But anyway, so so I'm very conservative, but I love my earth and I love to have it pure as I can, and I try not to put all kinds of weird crap in it. At one time I did. I'll raise my hand. I've used Roundup to take care of weeds, and let me tell you, because I was ignorant at the time, and I've since stopped using as much as I can use any poison to kill insects. In fact, I love insects. I just don't like spiders in my house. But I mean, I let the insects run wild, and same with the weeds. I'll pull the weeds from now on, because the Roundup stuff. You got to figure out that everything that you put back onto the earth is going back into the ground, and some of it's going to go into the water table, and some of it's going to go into the soil. And we've got to take care of this earth, because it'll take care of itself, no problem. It's us that we're killing off of the earth. Let's face it. We're our worst enemy. Whether you believe in climate change, whether you believe in the way that you change the earth through the water table or the soil table, we're our own worst enemy, and we got to watch out for each other. One of the things that I had a discussion with a neighbor of mine is that we were talking about the mice and the feral animals that we have, and we live in Gilroy. It's a rural area. We have lots of mice, rats, and cats and possums and raccoons. We have owls. We have all kinds of different. I mean, we have an abundance of wildlife going through our backyards, and it doesn't matter whether you've got a nice clean yard or whether you've got a dirty yard. You're going to have all these critters in your yard, whether you like it or not. Well, for some of the stuff that you have to catch. I mean, you got to catch rats, you got to catch mice, but one of the things that a lot of people are doing, and I want you guys to stop this immediately. Think about what you're freaking doing to the ecosystem. And it's not just the earth that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ecosystem with the way that predators eat their kill. Okay, so poison, rat poison, any type of rat poison. I've learned this lesson the hard way, and I'm going to tell you a little story about it. Really disturbed me, and it stopped me from using rat poison. From that day forward, I have not used rat poison again, ever. And so I'm talking to my neighbor the other day. We're just talking over the fence, and we're both doing some yard work. And she says, "Well, hey, have you caught any mice or rats lately?" And I'm going like, "Well, no, I really haven't had my traps out. Kind of it's wintertime, and I really don't care about it much. All they do damage. Believe me, all critters do damage, and that's just the way things are." And but we started talking about the rat traps. And she goes, "Yeah, we caught a couple in our traps, and we got a couple on poison." I'm going like, "Oh, so you got a couple on poison?" Because I said, "Do you realize what you're doing to the environment when you're using poison?" And I told her my story. So my story is this: I used to put poison in my backyard, and I'm a gardener. Like I said, we just started working in our garden and working real hard, and digging up the soil and stuff. So I'd been digging one day, and it was must have been a Saturday or something because this had happened on a Sunday, and I had left my shovel and everything out, and at the end of the day, just went past what we were doing, and came in and made it a day. Well, I had traps out, just opened up, probably maybe 5 days of fresh poison in them. So I come back out that next morning. I'm ready to start doing some yard work, and I see this rat. I mean, he was a significant looking rat. I mean, he was big. He was probably as big as my fist, tail probably, another 6 inches long. He was pretty good. But he's laying at the bottom of a hole that I had dug with a shovel, not very deep, probably not more than 6, 8 inches deep. But he's laying in that hole, and I see him quivering. I'm going like, well, that's odd. He's not running away or anything like that. And he's laying on his side and he's quivering. And I look around him and I kind of, I took the end of the shovel and I moved him, and he was just quivering like he was in a seizure or something. So I'm pretty sure that he was he was poisoned. Didn't see any kind of trauma to his body or anything like that. So a cat didn't get him or anything like that. But what I saw was kind of disturbing. So he was suffering, and I had to do what I had to do. It wasn't a comfortable feeling to do that, and I took other steps into taking care of the rodent population. And I know traps aren't the best either. I like to let all wildlife live, but you got to take care of the rats and the mice and stuff like that. It's going to get in your house, going to carry diseases. So now I do trap them. I also tried to use the sticky traps, but I caught a bird one day, and that was a bad situation because, yeah, I just didn't feel like getting into that. But people, what you got to remember is that the poison that you're putting into these rats, what happens is those rats will die. They will lay on the ground, and any predator that comes by is going to eat that rat. Okay. So if you've got a bird of prey like a hawk or a screech owl or any of the other owls around here, I mean, they get sick, cats get sick, everything that eats that poison rat gets sick. Okay. And then and it's just the chain reaction is what it is. Let's say you had a dog and he got a hold of that rat. Now you've got a problem if you've got a poisoned rat and this dog ate poison. Okay, so now you're at the vet. You got to think about what you're putting into this environment and what you're doing, because it's a bad situation when we're talking about that. And it's the same thing with Roundup. I mean, I quit using Roundup for the same freaking reason, because I started using Roundup around my house, because it's a great weed killer. Well, yeah, it's a fantastic weed killer. Unfortunately, it's a fantastic place for you to get cancer too, and they've already proved that, and they've had a jury trial, and they've awarded other people damages for the very notion that that Roundup isn't all what they seem to be. And you can find Roundup everywhere. It is just not funny about what's going on with the Roundup thing. Um, to be perfectly honest with you, I looked at it today and I went like, I've got a weed situation I need to get hold of. I'm like, not using it. It's just not happening. And they've got it out there. Some of the people have refused to sell it, but it's still there at Home Depot, and I'm pretty sure it's still there at Lowe's. But God, think about what you're putting into your environment, because we've got to live here. And you can say what you want to about climate change. I've got my views on it. I think I'm very clear about how I feel about it. But as far as the environment, if we can prevent putting stuff into the ground and putting stuff into our environment, don't you think it's our responsibility to do that? And I think that we should demand that of all our businesses. I mean, I'm not for regulating stuff, but we have to have certain demands upon all people to be responsible for this earth that we have. And like I said, climate change is one thing, but taking care of this earth and taking care of the soil and the water is another thing. We got to have water. We got to have good soil. Without those two, well, we're going to die. I mean, basically, we're going to die anyway. One of these days, all of us are going to be gone. But hey, let's prolong it a little bit more, right? Yeah. So also, what's going on in Morgan Hills? We got a community fire awareness, and if you're if you're anywhere in California, by the sound of my voice, you know that the last couple of years of wildfires have been pretty bad. And I'll have to admit it. Yeah, we've had some bad years, and you know what? It really doesn't matter about the weather because you guys gripe about whether there's too much vegetation or there's too dry vegetation. It really doesn't matter. If we've had a good winter, we're still going to have a dry summer, guys, and the dry brush is still there. But the community members are invited to attend a free prevention and preparedness seminar hosted by the Morgan Hill Fire Marshal Dwight Good and the Morgan Hill Emergency Services Coordinator Jennifer Ponce. Topics include protecting your home from wildfires, creating defensible space, registering for critical alert and warning messages, and preparing for emergencies. That's on April 18th, the same day as Earth Day. It's just probably kind of coinciding with the same thing going on with Earth Day at 6 to 8 p.m. at the Morgan Hill Community and Cultural Center in the El Toro room. So that's just right around the same place. And it is exactly the same place. So it's another little symposium that they're having there. And we got to take care of our Earth, guys. That's what's going on. I mean, that's what's real and everything. So, man, I had so much more to talk about, but I just can't seem to come up in my head. I just want to let you guys know that things are going great for the Weathered Soul podcast. We're going to put on some more shows for you on a weekly basis, and we are just hoping that that you'll tune in and do this. I know this is a short show, and I would love it to be longer, but I just wanted to get back on here. I wanted to put some content on the interwebs and talk to you guys and get back out there and let you know that we're still here. We're gonna hook up Dougie somehow. Dougie, you're gonna be here. Dougie, you are going to be here soon. Whether I have to hook you up on a remote and we have to do a Skype or whatever, we'll figure out how to do it. I'm not there yet, but we're going to go there. And so, hey, again, Night in the Garden for Alzheimer is my number one show. The first show of the Night in the Garden concert series is going to happen on May 18th. And that's going to be from 4 to 9 p.m. here at my place, Casa D McGee. I've had great talent here before. It's a fantastic show. Costs you $20 a ticket to get in. It's a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. Bring a plate, bring some wine, bring some beer, whatever you want to. It's a BYOB. I'll supply the soda. I'll supply the water. I'll supply the coffee. I'll even supply some munchies a little bit. We'll get together and we'll just have a good time, listen to some good music, and we're going to fundraise for the Alzheimer's Association. Okay. So that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to do. Blue House is going to be the headliner, and Cook and Fenny is going to be the opener. We're going to have a good time. You can get there by going to eventbrite.com at Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's, and you will find it. You can find tickets. You are more than invited to come. Let's fill this place up. We're going to have a great time and do a great job for Alzheimer's. And I want to thank you guys. If you like this podcast, if you want to hear more of this podcast, we're going to get more local, we're going to get more national, and we're going to get more Dougie as soon as he gets better. And we would love to have you here. It's the Weathered Soul Podcast.libsyn.com. You can find us on all the iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and all your podcast catchers. And I just love to have you here, man. Come to my Facebook page at Bruce the Weathered Soul. You can sign up. And like I said, and I'm going to end the show right here, for the best results, squeeze from the bottom up. Have a good week. Bye, guys. See you guys.